Welcome back to the Crafty Whisk. Ollie here today. I'm going to be sharing with you today a really simple and super quick gift idea for co-workers, fathers, mothers, anyone, grandparents. It's just a very simple sticky note holder, but made pretty. So let's get stuck into it. Today I'm going to be using the paper pad from Echo Park called Be Happy. And the other ones that I've already completed here are from Kaiser Craft. The first one was Factory 42 and this one is Anthology. So you can use any size stick-it notes. I'm going to give you the measurements today for two sizes that are quite common. And the first one is for the 3 by 3 by 7/8 of an inch sticky note, which is the most common. And for that we need a base card of 9.5 by 3.5, scored at 1.5. Sorry, scored at 1.5, 2.5, 5 3/4, and 6 3/4. I've just used like a 220 GSM. You can use whatever you wish. It doesn't really matter as long as it's not too thin. Now, if you have got the smaller sticky notes, which are only 1/4 of an inch high, then we need a base card of 8 inches by 3.5, scored at 1.5, 1 3/4, 5, 5 1/4. The only difference is the little gusset, because that's the only thing you need to actually change. Everything else is the same. So I like to have the front of mine with rounded corners. So just use any corner rounder for this. It doesn't matter what sort you have. And you'll need 2 pieces of 6 by 6 pattern paper and an embellishment if you wish. You don't have to have that. For this one I'm showing you, I am going to be using the little embellishment on the front. And for this sort of thing, this is where the Creative Memories paper trimmer comes in super handy, because you've got a little plastic guide that shows you exactly where the knife is going, or the blade is going to cut. And then you just slide the blade over the top and it cuts exactly where you want it to cut. I love that feature about it. There's no second guessing. And then just trim up a bit further. I'm just using a paper trimmer, a little guillotine. This one happens to be the Creative Memories one. I also have the Tim Holtz and the Couture Creations. I use all three. It just depends what I've got sitting next to me on the desk. So for this little embellishment, I'm just going to pop it onto the same black card. This is just a scrap piece from the cutting of the base. And I'm using very thin borders today. I'm only using 1/8 rather than 1/4. So the measurements are going to be a little bit weird because I only want a very small border of the black. So I'm using 2 different pattern papers. They're from the same collection, but one's little bees and one's like honey jars. So I'm trying to decide which one I'm going to have on the front and the back and so forth. The measurements you're going to need for the pattern paper, you need 2 at 3 3/8 by 1 3/8, 4 at 3 3/8 by 7/8, 1 at 3 3/8 by 3 1/8, and 2 at 3 3/8 by 2 5/8. If you do have directional paper, you do need to bear in mind which direction your paper is going to be running. And I sort of fold it and unfold it all the time, so I know which bit is the front, which bit is the back, or the inside and the outside, basically. And because I only want to use 2 sheets of paper, I am going to have to piece together 2 pieces of paper for the back. But it doesn't worry me in the slightest. It just saves me having to cut into a 3rd sheet. People won't even really notice that you've pieced it together This is really cute, this collection. I really love it. So here I'm just making sure that I've got the measurements going the correct way, because this piece of paper is directional. And this paper trimmer is also really handy for cutting small bits of paper, because it has the measurements going onto the other side of the blade as well, so you can use either side, which comes in really handy. And it's because the measurements are a little bit weird that I need to use a larger paper trimmer. My small ones don't go in eighths of an inch, they go in quarters of an inch, whereas this one goes in eighths. So if you wanted a bigger border, you can adapt the measurements I've given you to cut these pieces a little bit smaller, and then you'll be on the 1/4 inch marks more often than not. So this is the bit that I have to piece together. So I'm just sort of working out which bit I want to have the bigger bit and then just create a smaller bit. I could have even put the bees in the centre and put the honey pots down either side as well. I didn't think of that at the time. I probably should have done that, but instead I put the bees as the majority of the paper and then just put a little strip of the honey pots on the other side. And you don't even really have to cover the back if you don't want to. That's an option as well. So I'm just making sure that everything fits, and it does. So now it's just a matter of sticking them all down and choosing which bit is for the inside and which bit is for the outside, mixing and matching, or using all the same on the outside and all the same on the inside. I've gone for a bit of both. I've mixed and matched them. You just have to make sure that the pieces that you've got on that front flap, if you've used the corner rounder on the base, you also need to use the corner rounder on the pattern paper. And if your pattern paper is directional, make sure you've got the correct 2 corners with the rounder. And that's easy to do. You just unfold it and refold it, sort of thing, like I'm sort of doing here, making sure, yep, that's the way it has to go. I'm just using tape runner today, only because I had it handy for another project I was doing. You can also use glue. It really doesn't matter. Now, if you are using the thinner sticky notes, then the pattern paper is a little bit thinner, just in the gussets pretty much, which will be 3 3/8. Oh, hang on, what is it? It is 3 3/8 by 1 3/8. Actually, there's no pattern paper in the gussets for the small one, so it is only on all the other sides. So you might want to pause the video where I had the measurements up on the screen. But basically it's 3 3/8 by 1 3/8 times 2, 3 3/8 by 3 1/8 times 1, and 2 3 3/8 by 2 5/8. but the bigger ones, because we do have that wider gusset, I am using pattern paper in the gussets. And you can see how quickly this comes together. So you can have a stack of your sticky notes in your drawer, and if you just need to give something to a co-worker, or Father's Day little gift, stalls, all that kind of thing, fates, these come together really, really quick. And I'm just using a generic brand called Keji, which is what our Officeworks here have as their home brand. You can use the proper sticky notes, you can use whatever you want. I'm using double-sided tape on the back of the sticky notes, just to give it a little bit more of a firm hold. And then I'm going to centre it in that black centre panel there. I have found with the generic ones, they do come apart more easily than the name brand of sticky note, but it really doesn't make much difference. And I've just made sure that I've got the sticky notes going the correct way. You saw me flicking the little pad there. So now to close it, you can either use a magnet, or I'm just using Velcro dots. Velcro dots are more cost effective, to keep this nice and simple. And I'm just marking the halfway mark on my little embellishment there, so I'm only going to put tape or glue on the half that is going to be attached to the flap, and the other half is where the Velcro dot is going to go. So you can use glue or tape here. I would not recommend tape runner. I'd go more for the tape, because it is going to be the opening mechanism. And to place it, I've just simply going by the grids on my craft mat. I'm centering the holder and then just sliding the embellishment down. Before I stick it down, I make sure that it's on straight. And now the Velcro dots, you just need to attach the rough side to the soft side. These are self-adhesive, so it's really easy. And you stick one side down on the lid, and then you make sure it's all nice and square, and you push it down, and that will transfer the other part of the Velcro onto the front of your sticky note holder. Just give them a little bit of a push so that they're nice and secure, and it's done. Let me know what you think, and if you're going to give it a go. Nice and quick and easy. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Please click like and subscribe to keep my little channel going, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.